All right, so we got one last thing to do, and then we'll get to our interview. We're going to go over a few questions that we've gotten from our viewers over time. And viewers, please send in questions to either Miguel, me, or Richard, or Anvita to one of our social media sites like Instagram or Facebook that we can get in the future. All right, so good. Along this lines here, and this will be an interesting answer to this question. I've done both. What the question is, and I'd be interested in what your thought process is. So, what's better, palatal veneers, or which then obviously do the facial too, so that'd be two restorations, one on the lingual, one on the facial, or taco shell. Okay, where you kind of go wrap over like a taco shell, and I'm not sure who coined that, but I've done a few of those over the years. And that question was
my lady will be upset if you don't give her credit.
Well, I think she's maybe one of the first ones to talk about it, to write about it, but I can
kind of say she did. I'm saying she'll be upset if you don't say that she's the one.
She's the one that what?
That coined the taco.
I don't know. Okay, I'll take your word for it.
She says openly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I actually heard it from Bruce Crispin. I got to tell you, in probably 1985, 1986. So yeah. Okay. I mean, Bruce Crispin. Bruce Crispin was one of my mentors at UCLA. Fabulous dentist. A little bit of an issue of a guy kind of like me. He showed. Kind of like Nutty. He's a little more controversial than me, okay? But he showed us a case, and I thought that's cool. And this was 1986, okay? So anyway, whatever. It doesn't matter, okay?
No, I'm not saying the procedure. The name taco. Show the name taco.
Okay. All right. I'm just okay.
Who came up with that? Can you repeat that, Miguel? Who came up with that?
Francisco Vallardi. Francesco, sorry, okay. I'm just telling you, I heard about it from Bruce in 1986, the term, okay?
Yeah, so, and I think in the early years, a lot of us said things, but we never thought about pointing them. You just put it out. It was said there.
And there's an interesting thing is
we're going to become the moniker of our history.
Yeah, this is a good rave right here, a good rant right here. You know, there's another interesting reality, okay, and they've proven this through scientific studies that sometimes there's a convergence on thought. When people are thinking about minimalistic restorations, several people around the world come up with the same ideas at the same time, okay, without input from everybody else and add to it. So it doesn't matter at this point. Okay, so Juan Delgado Sanchez asked that question. Okay, so basically you got two designs. Your lingual's gone a little bit, your facial's gone a little bit, your interproximal's okay. You don't need to take that away. Traditionally, we do a full crown, right? Okay, one way to do it is wrap up over the buccal lingual that kind of looks like a taco shell folder, or the other is on the palate, you do a restoration, and the other on the facial, you do a restoration, okay? So they both work. Now, the only thing about doing the palatal and the facial restoration is you do two restorations. Are you going to charge for that? Now, there's one contention that I would make about doing the lingual and the facial. I believe Francisca teaches build up the lingual with composite.
Okay. There you go.
And then a ceramic on the then a ceramic on the facial. That's not how I ever did it. Okay, if we're truly using the word biomimetic, okay, and all of these people say they're biomimetic. What is the stiffness of enamel? Is it composite? No. Stiffness of enamel is around 80 gigapascals. Okay. The modulus, the Young's modulus. The stiffness of composites around 14 or 15. So if I'm putting something flexible on the lingual and that tooth gets loaded, that's not going to help resist the deformation of the tooth. And if you have porcelain on the facial, the stress will go in the porcelain, trust me, and it'll crack. So here's how I would do it. And I did 2 or 3 cases like this, and I don't know that I would do that because I'd have to charge $5,000-$6,000 a restoration, facial and lingual, okay? So I would do a lingual Emax, bond the lingual Emax. And nobody taught me this. Maybe somebody did it before me, okay? So we did a couple, did a couple at UCLA, and then I would do a porcelain veneer on the facial, or I'd do Emax on the facial. If I had enamel, porcelain veneer. If I didn't have enamel, I would do Emax. So I think that's a mechanical mistake to put composite on the lingual. Okay, if you want to do it, then you better put Emax on the facial. You better put a high-strength glass. But if you're going to put a porcelain veneer on the facial, mechanically it does not make sense, and it does not follow with biomimetic principles to put a flexible material where a stiff material used to be. Now, the taco shell, cool, okay? That's not easy to do. That's not easy to hide in the contacts on the facial and the lingual, butt it right up to the contact, both the lingual. So if it was me, okay, I'm probably going to do, if it's not an undercut or open inner braziers, I'm probably going to do the taco shell. Now, having said that, if I've got open embrasures through and through embrasures, I can just do a very minimalistic preparation today out of Emax. yes, I'm going to have to go through the interproximal a little bit, but I just put the lightest chamfer. So that's how I do it. What's your guys' thought?
I mean, I'm not going to argue with that on.
Oh, I will. Don't worry. If you want it,
I know you will.
No, let's do it. So if you want you're not going to be alone.
But I don't do them. I'm going to refer them to you and Ed.
Okay. All right, Miguel, give us your thoughts, okay?
Well, how close are we at? Are we close enough? Can I throw a punch?
Throw a punch, man.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful dental porn.
Yeah, okay.
That was, like if you put a composite and the modulus and the rigidity, and it will transfer the forces through the tooth, through the bonding layer on the facial of the ceramic, and everything is going to fill off. And I'm like,
I didn't say
why you have
off.
It's going to transfer to the ceramics. It's going to, well, you say you better use EMA.
No. We did that.
Use EMA.
We did that. Okay, no. What I'm saying to you.
Let me complete it. I'll let you rebut. What the reality is that I'm trying for more people to be conservative. I'm trying to convert 99% of crown makers into veneer makers, and some of the veneer makers that I open in video wrongly, and then the veneers break because the occlusion is bad. I want to teach them how to do anterior guidance. So if I want to get all these people to do something good, how the hell am I going to teach them to deliver buccal and lingual tiny pieces of glass? Just because there is a theoretical mismatch in forces, well, what I can do is I can look at them and say, listen, have you done veneers? Yeah, I've done veneers. Have you done a lingual composite? Yeah, I've done it. Okay, you can combine them both. And the good thing about the lingual composite versus the ceramic comes from the lab. You and I know how to modify. I modified 10 of them today. But most dentists don't know how to modify a tiny piece of lingual ceramic. So whatever goes, they're going to have to bond. But if I get the composite, I have the best articulator in the world. I have the patient with me.
Right.
I'm going to mold that composite after I put it in the lingual to the anterior guidance that I need. So I think then your point is valid in the thought process of how nerd we are, but the implications of it is that nobody can do it, and composite works really well. That's my push.
Okay, yeah, so let's focus on we got two separate things happening here, okay? So I can show you where we did some studies where we bent a few things and where you're more into dentin, okay? And then you have porcelain veneer on the facial. Let's talk about separate this out, okay? The porcelain veneer breaks. It breaks, okay?
The what was into dentin?
When we're missing lingual enamel. We're missing lingual enamel. So basically we're into dentin because the stress doesn't disappear, okay? So so I'm just answering the question, buddy, okay? So the question becomes, okay, so you're looking at a case where you got lingual wear, facial, but you got interproximal. We're looking at a case where we have perfect interproximal contacts, there's no caries, but you've got lingual wear, and you want to do something on the lingual, you want to open the bite, okay? So I have no problem with putting the composite on the lingual, okay? And now there's an issue with that. How many dentists can isolate and build up lingual normally? So you're assuming that they can do that well. Most of them can't even do it on the facial. Sorry, me either.
Yeah,
okay,
you can give a lingual of an upper anterior dry. Come on.
No, you got to do all the teeth though. You've got to build up. If you're opening the bite, you've got to do 6.
Oh, well, that's different. What you're saying is different. We're talking about lingual taco. I wasn't talking about a posterior. No,
but if I'm building up the lingual, you got to open the bite.
Well, obviously, probably you have porcelain on the posterior, like.
Okay,
sure.
You still got to do 6 teeth. Okay, so you got to open the bite. Okay, all right. So I'm okay with that. I actually.
It's easy. You think? Yeah, so you think the one?
Well, wait a minute, boss.
You're going to isolate for delivering the porcelain veneers on the lingual. If not, can isolate for the composite.
It's actually not that hard. I did it 3 times. Okay.
Oh, I'm afraid it is. I was just playing your
It's actually. I think I believe it's easier for dentists to cement a veneer than build up and shape the lingual. I absolutely believe that. Okay? All right?
Easier, yes, but which one can be done better?
Okay.
I have a question for you.
I think you could do a thin layer of Emax and bond that better than you end up with somebody building up the lingual. Because look, all we got to do is wait. All we got to do is look at everybody's bonding. There's probably 3% of the dentist on earth, maybe you're part of those 3%, okay, that does bonding that holds up well over time. Because on the facial, now we're talking about lingual, okay? All right, so coming back to the question, we're getting sidetracked, which is cool because we're getting a lot of different thought processes in here, okay? So what I'm suggesting would be is if you're going to do composite on the lingual, thinking like a material scientist for a second, putting that hand, then what I would put on the facial is a glass ceramic, okay? I would not put a porcelain veneer on the facial. Okay? because of the dynamics of how the stress would be. And you're going to get a great aesthetic result, which I think we all agree.
Just to confirm, I don't know if you misspoke or if I have to change.
I could have.
Porcelain is a glass ceramic, right? So you meant
no, porcelain is not a glass.
You mean it's feldspathic.
A feldspathic. I would not put feldspathic hand-layered porcelain veneer on the facial.
So you don't consider feldspathic a glass ceramic?
No. Okay. By definition, a glass ceramic means really it's controlled crystallization.
I'm not criticizing you. I think if you know, you probably are right. I just want to learn it.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. In the ceramic literature, in the ceramic societies, they call it controlled crystallization of glass. It's been dumbed down to a glass ceramic, meaning a block of glass that have crystals in it, A block of glass that has crystals.
So Mark II is not a glass ceramic.
Yes, it is a glass ceramic. It is a glass ceramic.
But that is feldspathic.
But it's still, but let's differentiate porcelain veneer versus a glass ceramic veneer, okay?
So you're saying don't stack it. Is that what you said? No.
Okay, so we I could get a whole material lecture. The basic difference, if I take Emex and I did it, I ground it up into a little pile and I made a porcelain. I made a porcelain veneer out of it, or actually made some disc, and we fractured them. The strength done that way, ground up, built up, fired again, was not that much stronger than regular porcelain. See, the difference is, here's the big difference between porcelain and a glass ceramic. Porcelain has a third phase. Glass ceramic has glass and crystals. Porcelain veneer has a third phase. Do you know what the third phase is? Air. It has air in it. Air weakens a material by 50%. Okay, so I'm just trying to differentiate here for a second, okay?
No, I'm asking you what the differentiation is, because I'm teaching different, that's why.
Okay, no, I think you and I are teaching we're teaching them the same, my friend. We are teaching them this. I would not use a hand-layered porcelain veneer to open bites with today, okay? Even though I know we know some friends in New York that do, and they show all these beautiful cases, and I worry about those cases, okay? All right? I would, if I was going to do, and I'm okay with the composite on the lingual. I like doing stuff like that. I would do a glass ceramic veneer.
You're not understanding what I'm saying.
Okay,
you think I'm disagreeing with you or anything? I'm not disagreeing.
I think we were agreeing. I actually think we were.
No, we're not, because you make a distinction that I don't, and you might be right on the distinction. But the way I teach this is glass ceramics is Empress, lithium silicate, zirconia reinforced lithium silicate. Anything that has a glass face, I cut it except for composite. Yeah.
Porcelain is not a glass ceramic. Porcelain is not a glass ceramic by definition.
So, but that's fine, and that's fine. So, what is porcelain? So you call it glass ceramic, then you can lithium silicate because it has a crystal that grows.
Right.
You call that a glass ceramics, but amorphous porcelain, you call it porcelain. Is that what? Am I understanding correctly?
Okay. So So the porcelain is thought of. I mean, if you look at it, it's a thing that condenses under heat and contains clay. There's not a great definition. Okay, but typically porcelain and the dental space is a powder liquid system of a glass. Okay, that can have some crystals in it. That's built up by a powder liquid on a die, or on a PFM coping or something like that, or zirconia coping. Differentiate that with how our definition of glass ceramic is a block of material that we press or machine. Okay, so
sure, but
we're getting sidetracked here a little bit. Okay,
no, we're not.
Yeah, well, actually, we are.
I'm going to simplify.
Let me just finish. Please let me finish. Okay? And I think we're all going to agree with this. Okay, whether we build up, and I'm fine with the composite, okay, or thing. On the facial, I'm going to put either machined or pressed glass ceramic. That's what I'm putting on the facial. I'm not going to put a pure porcelain on the facial, on something that I'm opening the bite with, and I built up the lingual out of composite, because it's too weak of a material. That's my point.
And so... And I agree with that 100% on this. And what I think bottom lines all of this is that probably 98% of the dentists that you're teaching this to, this argument never even comes up because they are doing a glass ceramics by definition. In Ed's in my world, where 98% of my veneers are feldspathic and layered, it's rare that I do an Emex period. But if I do have a lingual situation like you're addressing, then I have no problem doing it in composite because I'm going to go with Emex. So,
right. But I've seen your cases, Richard. Your cases are not heavy bruxers, though. The cases you showed me.
Correct. That's my point. So,
okay.
So when you're open and vertical on all of that, you're going to change your material. The few Emexes that I've done have been in heavy bruxer situations. So that's why I think.
And if you want a little more aesthetics, you use a Vita block or Impress block, okay? So I think we're basically on the same there. So we've answered that question, okay?
I'm not.
You're not.
I'm not, but not because I want to be mean, and we can do it off the record, but I think the distinction you're making between these two materials doesn't exist.
So,
And I don't want to confuse people, and I'll give you an example.
Porcelain is a different material than a block.
But you explain. Now let me explain what I think. Let me explain my point, which could be wrong. I understand what you're saying, and what you're describing is the difference in the manufacturing process, not the difference of the material.
Right. Yes.
Hand-stacked porcelain is weaker than milled porcelain for a block. The studies show that. We know it. You and I know it because we stack porcelain.
Because of the manufacturing
it's not
technique.
a different part. It's not a different. The block is not a glass ceramic. The block is also a powder that they compact into a square and they put it into an oven. And it's the same one that you're doing. It's just better because it's under pressure and perfectly packed and whatever, or as perfect as it can. So I think the message that you're trying to say, and I don't want to correct you because I could be wrong, is if I'm going to be in this scenario, don't put hand-stacked porcelain
Correct.
in the front. You can use only glass ceramics, but don't use that one because those are weaker by the way they're made. Am I correct or am I wrong?
Correct. Generally, but porcelain is not considered a glass ceramic by anybody, okay? Even though there's glass and there's ceramic in it, the differentiation kind of comes down to the fabrication technique, okay?
It's kind of like the way we're using the word.
Yes, okay. So,
Right.
but I think we're going to use the material similarly. We're now arguing about its semantics on, so I
No. I was confused because I said glass ceramics and porcelain, they're different things. So like, no, they're different manufacturers. What's the next question?
Okay, all right, guys, good job. Let's get through a couple of questions so we don't lose our audience. We're going to answer this question, okay, because it's relevant to what we're talking about. So, do we need retention and resistance form and inlay-onlay preps? Let me move so I can see that, to spare the bond, okay? Wow, okay, so yeah, what you're talking about is tensile stress on the bond. Here, I think we covered that a lot today, but here's the simple answer to that. We would 100% use a glass ceramic, Empress, Emax, Vita Block, Suprinity, 100% of the time on our inlays and onlays. If we can control our bond, meaning isolate, do all that fun stuff, we would not at all worry about retentive macromechanical retention, okay? Because the bond has demonstrated to be so strong, okay? That when you, like what Richard said, when you pull it apart, Panavia against the bonding agent, you can't. It's impossible, okay? So as long as you can get good isolation, you've got some decent surface area, not a 1 millimeter square surface area, we would not worry about on our inlays and onlays some retention and resistance form. So guys, why don't you share your concepts there if I missed anything?
No, I agree completely. I mean, our bond strength, but we've known that for years if we're using the right material. With zirconia, obviously, we have a little different.
Yeah, and I think we touched on it.
I will tell you right now, I consider myself pretty high up in the bonding world. There's not a whole lot that scares me if you've seen some of my extreme bonding.
Right.
But I have I'll not lie to anybody out there. I've had zirconias that I put on 15 or 2 where I didn't have much retention form and a wing and a prayer, and I've had a couple come off. And for me to have something debond, I know
Rare.
but I chose that and to try it, to see, and the patient knew. And I said, gold is a better choice here. I can bond gold better than I can bond zirconia.
Well, quick follow-up, Richard, and then Miguel, you touch on it. Specifically, you're prepping a tooth, the question. You're prepping an onlay, okay? Second molar, first molar, whatever. And you've got decent surface technique, and you can isolate. Are you going to cut a retentive groove or a box form?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's the question. Miguel, and the only other thing we would say, and we wouldn't recommend this, but if you're going to use zirconia, cut some in. But that isn't a recommendation.
The only time, and I'm not 100% in agreement on this flat prep, consistently flat preps. You see a lot of aggressive flat preps right now in the biomimetic world where I think they're even taking maybe more than they need to. Those are the only times that we would put an indication dot somewhere to align the restoration up, to have a seeding, sort of a seeding index.
What a concept. Why don't you just follow the occlusal surface and you get that? Okay. All right, Miguel. All right. Yeah, Miguel?
The answer is no. Retention and resistant form are no longer needed in dentistry ever.
Awesome, buddy. Okay. That was simple and to the point. Okay, guys, I think that's enough. I think we're probably well into our hour and a half. And any closing thoughts? God, this is great, guys. I'm having a good time. I love bouncing ideas off of both of you, and I love my rant brother out there. He's making me think a little bit more before this thing starts flapping out there.